18 states across the country saw some level of a minimum wage increase yesterday. Residents voted on legislation to raise the minimum wage in some other states, while some just have automatic measures to track inflation and make sure wages stay put there. Washington state has the highest minimum wage in the country at $11.50 this year, despite a recent study sponsored by Seattle City Council that found the average low-wage worker in Washington's capital lost about $125 a month due to the minimum wage increase. So are these hikes just hurting the very people they're supposed to be helping? Let's talk with Fox Business Network's John Stossel and find out all about this. So this is the ultimate in do-goodery. Legislators feel that the federal government has to come in and build a ceiling, so everyone is making essentially the same. Yes, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah, they're building a floor. They're not. Well, they're building a ceiling as well, because that's all anyone will ever make. No one will get a wage increase once everyone is making the same thing. So who are some of these people pushing for this effort? Bernie Sanders?
Yeah, Bernie Sanders says it would save billions of dollars because people would get off food stamps.
Yeah.
And it is just naive. And of course, some people will be helped. They'll get a raise. And the problem is that for every person that gets a raise, more people will be hurt in some way. It's just harder to see that damage. The people who never get hired, the businesses that automate instead of hiring people or never expand. And this is true of farm subsidies, of family leave requirements. You can see the person who gets helped.
Yeah.
But you can't see the women of pregnancy possible age who don't ever get hired because the employer says, God, there are all these laws I have to understand. Once I hire her, I'll just hire men.
Yeah.
Or the Americans with Disabilities Act. Yeah, I want to hire the disabled, but gosh, if I hire this person, I can never fire them.
Yeah, the cost of compliance as well has become so prohibitive with the more government involvement. And
which is why the market's booming, because Donald Trump has said, we can't take it all away, but we're going to stop adding to it.
Yeah, we're going to scale back some of these regulations, and so far it's been scaling back 22 regulations for every new one passed. What's really interesting to me is there are conservative and libertarian economists who have been saying this for a long time. This was the basis of part of Milton Friedman's book, Freedom to Choose, where he basically said, you hurt poor people, like the people who have the hardest time entering the job market. Those are the ones who are hurt most. But now liberal economists are saying the same thing. They're looking at this raw data.
Some.
Yeah. Not all, but including the Employment Policies Institute. They looked at a California study which showed that by 2022, there would be a 400,000 net loss in jobs in that state.
They're acknowledging it. And we should also ask them, well, if you can't live on $7, but 10 is okay, well, why not 20 if there are no bad effects? Why not $100 an hour? But you can't mandate this stuff.
Yeah.
Also, what people don't get is that, like, I'll ask you, how many people do you think get the minimum wage now? What do you think it is in America?
17%.
5%.
Yeah.
So most workers are paid more than the minimum wage because the employer sees them as has to do it for competition reasons.
Yeah, and people who get into the job market for the first time, those are the ones who make the minimum wage. And those are the people who are going to be reliant on food stamps and other government programs because they can't get work to begin with when you have this Fight for 15, which is a campaign started by the SEIU.
Union campaign. And if there's no minimum wage at all, my ideal, then a kid can go to the employer and say, look, I know I have no employment history and I flunked out of school, but I'm ready to work now. Give me a try.
Yeah.
And that would be legal, and that would be good.
All right. Well, you know what? Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's good.
No, but in this case,
there's too much government. It hurts the people it's meant to help. And there has to be some sanity in sight. With people like Bernie Sanders gearing up for another presidential run, I don't have faith there. I have faith in you always, John Stossel. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Kennedy.
Love it.